Hi, I'm Simon Whistler, this is TopTenzNet, and in the video today, we're going to be looking at the 10 most amazing proven health benefits of music. Music has been an integral part of human civilization for over 55,000 years and continues to be an important aspect of almost every culture on Earth. It's so dominant that for many people, their life would be empty without their melodies. At the most basic level, music is just a series of sounds, but research has found it's much more profound than us just hearing noise. Music can have some amazing effects on your mind and body, and that's what we're looking at in today's video.
The top 10 amazing proven health benefits of music. Number 10. It reduces stress. One of the most well-known benefits of listening to music is that it reduces stress. There is plenty of anecdotal evidence to support this, and probably anyone who is reading this can remember a time in their life when they were stressed out and felt better after listening to a song or an album. But why does music have such a drastic effect on someone's stress level? One reason comes down to cortisol, which is a hormone that's released when someone is stressed out. A high level of cortisol isn't good for the body and is linked to a number of issues, including problems with memory and concentration, as well as weight gain. It's linked to depression, heart disease, and other problems related to stress that are believed to stem from high cortisol levels. Music affects stress because it has the amazing ability to lower cortisol levels, which decreases the feeling of stress in the body. The key to relieving stress through music is simply to follow your own natural urges, pick music that you love and that fits your mood. Number 9. It helps with depression. Music can have a profound effect on depression. It's been found to aid in the treatment of depression by having sufferers play an instrument or sing, and it can also help people with depression if they simply listen. For example, researchers at Queen's University Belfast got a group of 128 youths who were all being treated for emotional, developmental, or behavioral problems. Half of them received the usual care and the other half were given the same care along with music therapy. The researchers found that the students taking the music therapy had their self-esteem greatly improve and their depression drop significantly. On the other end of the age spectrum, it has been shown to decrease both anxiety and depression in people over the age of 65. So if you're having a rough day, turn up your favorite song and belt out the words. You might be surprised how good you feel. Number 8. It helps people sleep. In order to see how music affects sleeping habits, researchers at the University of Taiwan gathered a group of 60 elderly people with sleeping problems. The 60 seniors were given the choice of listening to slow, soft music or nothing at all for 45 minutes before bedtime. The results were that in the first week, the people who listened to the music reported a 26% improvement, and that eventually rose to 35%. They found they slept better and longer and also felt better the next day. The music they chose was about 60 to 80 beats per minute, which is stuff like contemporary jazz or folk. The reason is that the music helped lower the people's heart rate and respiratory rate. So next time you're having problems sleeping, just throw on some James Taylor or Diana Krall before you go to bed. And if you don't hate that sort of stuff, it should mellow you out enough to sleep. Number 7. It helps with vascular health. While music does reduce stress and help with other parts of the brain, researchers weren't sure if it causes any physical change in the body. Researchers at the University of Maryland Medical Center decided to see how much music impacts the endothelium function of the body. The endothelium function forms the linings of the blood cells. The better the endothelium function works, the healthier the vascular system. During the study, they had participants listen to joyful music as well as music meant to provoke anxiety. The participants also watched a video that would make them laugh and another that would make them feel relaxed. Then they measured the flow-mediated dilation, FMD, which measures the endothelium function. They found out that joyful music raised the FMD by 26%, which was higher than anything else. Laughter made it rise by 19%, while it was an 11% increase for the relaxation video. The conclusion is that joyful music may be good for your heart, your veins, and your blood vessels. So don't let anyone give you a hard time for still liking Happy by Pharrell Williams. You're just trying to be healthy. Number 6. It helps with diet and exercise. Good news for those trying to lose weight. One way to help keep the calorie level down and give you an edge in exercising may come from listening to the right music. In order to see how music can affect eating habits, 2 researchers from Cornell University took over a Hardee's fast food restaurant. They gave half the restaurant a makeover to make it look like a fine dining restaurant, which included playing slow jazz music, while the other half of the restaurant was left looking like a normal Hardee's. The researchers originally thought that the people in the fine dining area would eat more because they would linger around longer and might be bored. However, they found that the people in the fine dining area actually ate less and enjoyed their food more. This means that if you want to eat less and get more enjoyment from your food, simply put on some slow, soft music while you eat. Not only does music help with dieting, but it's also incredibly helpful when it comes to exercising as well. A number of studies have been done on the connections between music and exercise. Some findings conclude that it helps people ignore fatigue and pain, improves mood, increases endurance, and it may also help with the metabolism's efficiency. As for picking which music is the best for exercising, it's important to keep it personal. For example, songs that evoke memories are useful. Also, if you can identify with the singer's viewpoint or emotional state, it can be incredibly beneficial. It's not about picking songs that are fast or up-tempo, it's about picking songs that make you move. Number 5, it helps with stroke victims. A study from the University of Helsinki looked at patients who had just suffered a stroke and were recovering. They randomly assigned patients what they would listen to for a few hours every day, music, audiobooks, or nothing at all. The researchers found that compared to the patients that listened to the audiobooks or nothing, the people who listened to music had their verbal memory and focused attention recover better. Also, their demeanor was more positive and they were less confused. Another interesting finding in the study is that when it came to verbal memory, 60% of the group that listened to music improved after 3 months, but the group that listened to audiobooks only saw about a 19% improvement. The doctors believe that words are not enough to help, but words with music can be incredibly beneficial in helping to repair the brain. Number 4, it aids in the development of children. Even at a young age, children can be helped by music. One study from York University in Toronto, Canada, found that after just 1 month of music lessons, out of 24 participants who were between the ages of 4 and 6, 90% showed improvement in verbal intelligence. Another study from Harvard University found that by training children in music, it also helps with the development of auditory discrimination, fine motor skills, vocabulary, and nonverbal reasoning. In fact, music training has been known to help children who don't yet walk or talk. A study at McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada, found that 1-year-old babies who participate in music classes with their parents smile more, communicate better, and show earlier and more sophisticated brain responses to music. Number 3, it keeps your mind sharp. For some people who took music lessons as a child, it may have seemed like a torturous ordeal and a waste of time. The good news is that if you are one of those people or are someone who is currently forcing a child to learn to play an instrument, the training may have long-term positive effects on the human brain. A study from Northwestern University found that the more musical training someone had as a child, the sharper his or her mind was as a senior adult. For the study, they took a group of 44 adults between the ages of 55 and 76 who had studied music between the ages of 4 and 14, but had quit and had not played in the last 40 years. The researchers recorded the brain activity of the participants in the area of the brain where sound is processed and found that the participants with more musical training responded faster to speech. Although it is important to point out that it was only about a millisecond faster, and that may not sound like a lot, but the brain is a sharp tool and it is sensitive to timing. If 1 millisecond is compounded over millions of neurons, it can have drastic effects on the lives of seniors. The researchers believe that the study will hopefully encourage more musical training for children and will also justify parents sending their children out of the house for music lessons for a few hours every week. Number 2, it reduces pain. Researchers at the Pain Research Center at the University of Utah found that if people actively listen to music that they enjoy, they can reduce acute pain. This type of pain would be felt in situations like post-surgery or at the dentist. In the study, they gave participants an electric shock and found that when listening to music, it decreased pain levels by 17%. It was twice as effective for people who have high anxiety. The reason music reduces pain is because a lot of the pathways in the brain that process music are the same ones that process pain. So when you listen to music you enjoy, it will create emotional responses that will compete with the pain, which means there are fewer resources for the body to compute the hurt. Number 1, it improves the immune system. Researchers at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, looked at 400 papers on music and neuroscience. One of the things that they found was that music can help the body's immune system. They found evidence that when people listen to music, their body has an increase in immunoglobulin A, which is an antibody that plays an important part in the mucous system. Immunoglobulin A is also a natural killer cell count, which are cells that attack germs and bacteria that are invading. Essentially, this means that by just listening to Taylor Swift, you could be improving your immune system and keeping yourself healthy. Go ahead and use that as an excuse if you ever feel like shaking it off.
So thanks for watching that video. Are there other ways that you think music is beneficial? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, give us a like, it really helps us out. And subscribe to the channel, brand new content just like this. A new video 7 days a week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just click that big subscribe button below me and you'll be signed up to that. Also, over there on the right, linking over to some other videos that if you like this one about music, you might be interested in the top 10 legendary artists who never had a #1 hit, and another one that's a bit more morbid, but about bands that continued producing music and being successful despite the fact that their lead singer died. So that's an interesting one. And thank you for watching.